Councilmember Bax. Council Chairperson Perry. Councilmember Miles.
Here.
Councilmember Zajac.
Here.
Roll tonight. Or, I'm sorry, but do the invocation and the pledge.
Lord, today we ask for your common love in a time of uncertainty, chaos, and turbulence in our state, our country, and in our world. We ask for your guidance as we look to make decisions that affect all that we have sworn to uphold and defend. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path and help us to stay on track. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we all set? Yep. Looks like we are. Okay, looks like we have no presentations tonight. We will begin with the public. We have public speakers on the legislative items.
I have one speaker for our legislative agenda items, and that would be Vincent Cawley.
Appreciate you here. Thanks for the opportunity. Just real quick.
On all of them, really, just general questions in regards to agenda item number 1. I didn't see any supporting documents on the website, so I'm just curious, what was the reorganization? And is this, I'm assuming this is the same parking lot that city ran? Was there more details regarding that, this restructuring, reorganization regarding this $3 move? Were there people fired? Was someone removed, demoted, anything to that nature? Be curious about that. In regards to item number 2, it seemed like there was an RFP. I guess, what were the metrics that we decided to go with AMD, number 1? Number 2, are they performing testing, or are they removing asbestos, or are they testing for asbestos? I would be curious to know what exactly are we paying them to do, what this agreement is, the execution of it. I didn't see that in any supporting documents. And how do we choose them? Was there a matrix of awarding this contract to them? And then finally, lastly, number 3, again, it seemed like we went through an RFP process to get this contract award to M2. Now, I know I've asked around, because we did a public, a moving, we hired someone for the plumbing, and we didn't do a contract for the plumbing. But I'm curious as to why we're doing a contractor for the forestry. Is it just so many problems that we needed to have a contractor? Does that not go for the plumbing as well? And how was this service picked? Was there a matrix or metrics to pick this tree removal service? I'd be just glad to know more information as to how these awards were given and how these vendors were selected. Thank you, Council.
Okay, any other speakers? That's it? Okay. Moving on to administrative updates and controller's report. Do we have administrative updates?
There is no controller's report this evening. However, I'd like to take this opportunity to provide a report from the Office of Corporation Counsel. I want to, I've been asked to shorten my summary, so I'm going to do that. But I want to review, for the benefit of the council and the listening public, the hierarchy of rules that govern the council. And just to give you a preview of where I'm heading, it is to explain the basis in law for our chairperson to control the decorum of our meetings. With that said, I want to just state at the beginning, at the top of the hierarchy governing this council are laws, and those are the federal laws and state laws. That also includes the constitutions, the U.S. Constitution and the New York State Constitution. It also includes laws like public officers law and the open meetings law. Now, many people in the audience, and I'm sure many of you have heard of the open meetings law, and you're generally familiar with it. I do want to point out that none of those laws that I've just mentioned, including the constitutions, require any legislative body, whether at the village level, town level, city level, or higher. None of those laws require these legislative bodies in New York to permit people other than members to speak at meetings. The fact that we do, in the city of Niagara Falls, allow members of the public to speak on agenda items and at the end of the meeting for good of the community is because the council made that choice many years ago. And below the laws, this body is governed by the corporate charter. The city charter, which was revised in 2018, and it's been updated from time to time since then. After that, just below the corporate charter, are rules of order that govern this body. Rules of order can be special rules of order created by this council, and I just want to point out that an example of a special rule of order is the instructions at the end of every agenda, including tonight's agenda, which reads, "Note for public speakers," and there's probably a dozen bullet points. And what that is a summary of a resolution that the City Council passed in January of 2020. And many public speakers are familiar with it, some are not. I will shorten this up by just pointing out that the very last bullet of that special rule of order, states the chairman will enforce these rules. That means that all the rules stated above that bullet point are for the chairman to enforce, and that was a decision made by a prior city council, and it still stands. Just as important as that special rule are parliamentary rules of authority. Now, I mentioned the corporate charter a minute ago, and that's relevant because it's the city charter which establishes that this body is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. And so I'll finish up by just giving you a sampling of relevant excerpts from Robert's Rules of Order that address the subjects of governing discipline at meetings and the removal of individuals who violate rules of order, rules of conduct. In section 61:6, of Robert's Rules, it establishes that this council, quote, has the right to determine who may be present at its meetings and to control its hall while meetings are in progress, end quote. Section 61:7 tells us, quote, non-members, and by the way, that's a reference to audience members. You folks at the front of the room are members of the council, so non-members refers to audience members. I'll start over. Quote, non-members can be excluded at any time from part or all of a meeting or from all of its meetings. Such exclusion can be effected by a ruling of the chair in cases of disorder or by the adoption of a rule on the subject or by an appropriate motion as the need arises. So there are three different ways that disorder can be addressed by this body. And it starts out with the chair. Now, in a hypothetical situation, let's imagine that the chair does not take action when there's a disruption in the chamber. That last phrase that I read tells the rest of you that you could also take matters into your own hand to bring order to this room by making an appropriate motion as the need arises. And I also point out, in the middle of those two provisions is the ability to adopt a rule on the subject. And as I've already pointed out to you, in 2020, the council, in January of 2020, did just that with the adoption of its rules governing public speaking in this forum. Section 61:8 of Robert's Rules states, quote, "All persons present at a meeting have an obligation to obey the legitimate orders of the presiding officer," end quote. Section 61:19, which addresses the removal of individuals who break the rules, states, quote, "An assembly," meaning this council, "has the right to protect itself from annoyance by non-members, and its full authority in this regard can be exercised by the chair, acting alone. The chair has the power to require non-members to leave the hall or to order the removal at any time during the meeting, and the non-members have no right of appeal from such an order of the presiding officer." That's period, end quote. That reference to an appeal is a reference to a parliamentary appeal, meaning that a non-member cannot make a motion to this body appealing the decision of the chair. Section 61:20 states, quote, "If a person, whether a member or not of the assembly, refuses to obey the order of proper authority to leave the hall during the meeting, the chair should take necessary measures to see that order is enforced," end quote. And finally, Section 61:21 of the Robert's Rules contemplates that any legislative body in New York that follows Robert's Rules has the authority to request police or security service to be present during a meeting to help maintain order. And that's what Robert's Rules says, and this body is governed by Robert's Rules. And that is the end of my presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. All right, we are at section 3D right now, community happenings. Do we have any community happenings or any announcements to make? Members? Nothing? Okay, we're now at section 4, the agenda items. Council members, you've had the electronic packages since last Friday. You've had to review them. Are there any motions to amend the packet? Are there agenda items? No? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda item, the agenda as is?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second. All right. Roll call to accept.
Councilmember Bax?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion is adopted. The agenda is adopted. Okay, we have no minutes to review, so we'll move right on to the legislative items. I'm sorry, we'll move right on to the information review from the clerk's office.
So there, the clerk's office submitted report of claims served on this, served from the months of February and March of 2024. Those are received and filed.
Anybody?
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to legislative agenda items for council action. Action item number 1. Can I get a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the council vote to approve the reorganization of the Department of Public Works to provide for a $3 raise to lead parking attendants assigned to the Rainbow Parking Ramp as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated May 2nd, 2024.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
This is Ajax, second. Okay, any requests for information? No? Okay, any opposition? Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Bax?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion is adopted. Action, legislative action number 2. May I get a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move the council vote to approve the contract award to AMD Environmental Consultants, Inc. as the successful bidder relative to the city's 2024 environmental testing asbestos consultant services contract and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with such vendor as more fully outlined in his recommendation memo dated May 2nd, 2024.
Okay, may I get a second for that, please? David Zajac seconds it. Okay, information requests?
Yes, is there, because this is the same question that Mr. Cawley had, is there going to be asbestos removal? Is there a list of address that we're looking at in regards to this? I mean, we're looking at nearly $250,000 for consultant and testing. How many homes? Where are these homes located? Because none of that information has been placed in our
To answer the first question was whether there's going to be asbestos removal. As part of the testing, it's my understanding after speaking with Robert Bazzelli in the engineering department that this company will be required to remove asbestos for testing purposes. And that goes to another question of yours, I think, about how the pricing is organized or arranged by the contract. And that is if a certain poundage of asbestos has to be removed, there's a price per pound. So if it's 10 pounds of suspected asbestos tiles that are being removed for testing, there's going to be a charge per pound for that removal. In terms of, before I move on, in terms of pricing, another way to think about the work is air quality testing, and that's going to require the deployment of equipment around a particular building being demolished, and that air testing equipment needs to be running. The length of time that it needs to run is really dependent on the size of the building and the length of time that the demolition occurs. Some demolitions are quicker than others. So if the crew is there for 12 hours, they get paid at an hourly rate for the 12 hours. If they're there for 24 hours, that same hourly rate applies. So that's pretty much how the pricing works. In terms of addresses, I know that this was asked before. My response on this particular contract hasn't changed. The addresses are unknown because the contract will cover a full year. If the council approves this contract tonight and we get the contract documents finalized by middle of the month or late May, the contract will run from late May 2024 to late May 2025. And in that 1 year period, the city will naturally, as it has in past years, identify buildings to be demolished. Those buildings have not yet been identified. It's as they pop up for demolition. Sometimes those demolitions are due to fires, and sometimes those demolitions are due to other reasons. But clearly, in the case of a fire, you can't predict what buildings are going to be destroyed by a fire and need to be further demolished, especially if they're city properties, which will require this kind of air testing. So basically, if the council approves the contractor will be on call, waiting for the call to say, come out to Maccoon Avenue. There's a city house that needs to come down. The city maybe got it on a foreclosure sale, and it's time to bring it down. And because of that, we need to have a environmental contractor present to do the air testing and remove samples to see what exactly is in the building. The dollar amount is, that's a lot of money. Someone, I think, wondered about how is the bid advertised. There is a New York State approved website for all bids, and the engineering department used it. It complies with the city's requirement to advertise the bids. There were a number of companies that showed an interest in the contract, but when it came down to the final moment, only one company bid. So in terms of what was the metrics for making the decision who to award the contract to, when you only have one bidder, they are the successful bidder. There wasn't a choice between 2, 3, 5, a dozen. So that was the metric used to choose AMD, sole bidder. I heard a comment that there wasn't a supporting document regarding these subjects. The supporting document in this case, the mayor's memo to this council, notified council members and the public who may have read it on our website as a PDF that AMD was the sole bidder. In terms of how many houses and maybe who's supervising the work, we don't know how many houses until decisions are made by engineering or codes to demolish a house. But when those demolitions occur, the engineering department will be supervising the work of AMD. It's not going to get paid for houses it didn't perform testing at. AMD is not going to earn the full contract price that you see in the administrative action item in front of you unless it actually performs work adding up to that total. The dollar amount is the absolute maximum that's budgeted. And so the work may not even reach half that number. It may not reach the entire number. If it were to reach the entire number and there were additional houses that were up for demolition in the coming year, the contractor would not be able to perform work without us coming back to you with a change order request. And if you rejected the change order, then no extra work gets done and the contract's over. I hope that answers everything.
Is there a base or ceiling? Because it's like we're looking at a number, so we can say. So I guess my question is that we're looking at this number. We vote on this number. There's a level of commitment, I feel like, there to this number.
There is a commitment to that, but that is the maximum number because that's all that's budgeted.
And they haven't had. Do they have any? I'm just confused because we tear down houses often. It's like we're not at a hope right now of tearing down homes. So when a house is torn down now, who does the asbestos testing for a home or a building that maybe had just caught on fire or whatever the case is? Who does that today without them being here?
The prior contract, as I understand it, is expired and it was rebid. So currently, there is no company doing it, and then we need to replace the company that did it for us.
I feel like this just lacks detail. So, I mean,
Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions for him.
You have any questions for anybody?
I mean, I just feel like it lacks detail. I feel like it, you know, when we're looking at $250,000 to be spent, you know, and yes, of course, it's coming through the community development funds. But if we're not, if I feel like when we're talking these, you know, amounts of dollars to be spent, there should be more detail. I feel like there should, like, okay, well, is there a list of homes that, you know, are up to, I'm actually talking to my colleagues, sir. There, okay, thank you. So again, so there is no list of homes that's showing, you know, $250,000 worth of work within the next year for testing, not going in and removing asbestos for a building to become code, but for just testing. So for me, it's like it's lacking the details for $250,000. I mean, if you're saying, hey, this is, you know, we want to test, you know, a few homes and we have a list of homes that we want to test and we want to do that for this amount of dollars, then it makes more sense. I'm like, okay, well, this is, you know, however, it's lacking detail, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I understand. We are voting on a ceiling amount. We have a contractor here. If a house burns down or a building burns down or anything burns down, we have a contractor here that's going to go out and test it for X amount of dollars. We don't know how much it's going to cost to go out. It might cost $20,000 to go out and buy it. So they take $20,000 out of this bankroll, and then there's still $200,000 left in this bankroll. And another house burns down, and it takes another $15,000 to go out and test this other house. So there's not. But this is the ceiling that's in this bank account. That's what we're voting on, is what is in this bank account.
So I guess, okay, but a better question for me to ask is about the metrics. So if this testing requires a specific type of test, did they provide us any type of documentation that says, this is how much this is going to cost? If we do this service for you, this is going to cost X amount of dollars. Because it's not showing in here. That's the only thing I'm saying. Y'all see how small this is? This is a paragraph. So I don't want to make it seem like my question is like weird or anything.
There's a whole contract specification book that I can share with you. If you want to take a recess, we can do that. It's lengthy, but you're welcome to look at it.
I mean, but it's the last minute, so that's unfair to us.
What I'm saying, we can take a recess and you can review it.
Is this time sensitive?
Well, I think I just said that there is no contractor working for the city, no contractor on call.
Right, but is it time sensitive?
It is if there's a building that needs to be demolished soon, yes.
Well, I mean, I seen it's a building, I'm quite sure that's being demolished probably.
Well, this contract covers city-owned property that gets demolished, and, you know, it's a liability issue.
Here's my thought, and I'm done after this. If it's not like because the information that you're offering me now at the very last minute should have probably been given to us a long time ago. So I would say that we should table this and we should be able to read this so we can see exactly what services cost what amount of dollars, and you know, because it's just lacking, and I have to vote from here, and I have to vote from here, and I have to vote from here.
All I'm saying is if I had received a request before today, I could have gotten it to you before today.
Not a problem. So that's why I say let's table it, and then we can actually read the documentation, and then we can, you know, make a very educated decision and not just things be brought to us.
Or we could recess and you could review the specs right now.
Or we can recess and read a lengthy documentation and try to like get all of that in our head in a matter of like 10 minutes.
Well, you said you wanted to see the pricing for particular tasks, and that's what the specifications would provide.
Is it easy? I mean, I guess
it's a lot of pages. You would have to read them, yes.
Again.
I understand it, but if you want to make a motion.
I make a motion to table it. Is this the time I can do it now?
You can. Is there a
Okay.
second?
All right, the motion is to table it. Yeah. I'll call. The motion is a table. Do we have a second? Second? Motion's defeated.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, I guess we're back to, any more questions on to go back to the original motion, okay. Any
Mr.
more
Chairman.
questions on the original motion? Okay, we'll go back to the original motion. We have a second on the original motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
ask if there's any requests for debate. Any in opposition?
Any opposition?
You already know.
We have debate on it.
Y'all want to debate some more? I got it. I got more in me if you want. But, I think I said enough. I think, if we're going to, make decisions and when there's more information that we can actually sink our teeth into and we just choose not to do it and we're going to vote yes, then we do it that way. But I'm not.
I understand that, it's, what we're voting for here is a bankroll. It's a bank account, so.
It's okay. It's okay.
Please call the roll, please.
Councilmember Banks?
Yeah, this is the third year we have voted on this type of allocation, and operationally, it does make sense to have the allocation available so we can address the situations as we have in the past 3 years, and I vote yes.
Councilmember Miles?
No.
Councilmember Zajac?
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes,
3 yeas, 1 nay.
motion adopted. Okay, legislation, item number 3. Could I have a motion for item number 3, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move the council vote to approve the contract award to M2 Tree Service, Inc. as the successful bidder relative to the city's 2024 municipal tree removal project and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with such vendor as more fully outlined in his recommendation memo dated May 2nd, 2024.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Zajac seconded it. Okay, is there any requests for information?
Pretty much the same thing. I guess all of my colleagues up here, everyone who actually, campaigned, we know about the, 15, 16-year wait on tree removal of ash trees that's in the whole city. It's throughout the entire city. I guess my question, it's very similar, is where? Is there a specific target? I know it's a handful of trees, but they didn't specify, where there's going to be and how are they going to go about. Is there a way that they're going to rate the importance of what tree is going to go first? Again, I feel like there's a lack of information. Is that?
So, to address your questions, this afternoon I emailed all the council members with information that I got from Bob Bazzelli in engineering, and I provided you with a 3-page PDF to summarize for those of you who didn't open your email or didn't have a chance to. The bid documents were amended with addendum number 2 on April 23rd. The successful bidder, M2 Trees, received that addendum, and they were aware of the addendum when they submitted their bid. And in that addendum, with the assistance of DPW and the engineering department, there were 54 trees identified for this contract to be removed. I'm looking at the list. I would say Half or more of those trees are ash trees. To address your concern about ash trees, we all are familiar with the green borer that has killed most of the ash trees in the city. But there are also silver maples and other types of trees. With each of these 54 trees, the PDF has the addresses, basic description of the girth of the trunks and the height of the tree, and any other special conditions that pertain to each location. How this was arrived at, how this list was arrived at was there are a list of trees that have been long dead, as you probably know, and the Department of Public Works, in concert with the forester, came up with a list of critical trees that need to be taken down, and as soon as possible. M2 Tree Service provided a total bid dollar amount, but each of those trees received a portion of that total bid. So every one of these 54 trees has a dollar amount attached to it that M2 Tree Service said that they will charge the city for this particular tree to come down. Just as with AMD, the engineering department will be supervising the progress of the work. M2 believes that they can get all 54 trees down within the time frame given to them. But if something unexpected happens, for example, severe weather event, or perhaps something that affects M2's workforces halfway through the project, and they've only gotten to 25 trees and can't complete the project, well, they're not going to receive the full contract amount. They're only going to receive what they bid for each of those 25 trees. And the engineering department will supervise the progress payments that are made. The way it works is engineering supervises the progress of the work, and at certain points of time, they'll ask the controller to cut a check. That's called the progress payment. And Bob Bazzelli assures me that they have never requested the controller to cut a progress check where work wasn't performed. So you can rest assured that if there's a progress check request for the first 10 trees being down, they have in fact been removed because engineering wouldn't approve it otherwise. Are there any other questions?
Okay, any other? Okay. Any opposition?
No pose. I think it's probably just kind of like for future references. There's a lot of information that's easily available. And it's showing that it's super easily available. It's just that we're getting it at the last minute. I think out of the spirit of transparency, not just for us, really for us because we got to make the decision, but for the people that voted us in, I think it's fair that for the basics, how much this costs for this service, where are we utilizing the service at? It was just put in our inbox or our whatever like this afternoon, but we had an agenda item since Friday. So I guess maybe moving forward for the basics, because we wasted more trees on other items that meant half of that there's a little bit more transparency and a little bit more information in these supporting documents, because these last two items were very bland, and I'm getting information that, the aftermath, and it's not, and it's lacking some of the detail that makes sense as it pertains to what item, like what were the trees, or maybe what buildings, or whatever the case is, or how much services cost, because these services, and not, of course, they're not coming out of our budget, I understand that, they're not coming out of, but however, we're using resources such as our American Rescue Plan, we're using the community development funds. This is funds that is for our city. I think that, it should be a little bit more transparency, or maybe a little bit, maybe I'm using, for lack of a better term, but more details provided prior to. And I'd never be okay with taking a recess to do something like, unless it's something that's real easy. I wouldn't waste our time with that. That wouldn't make any sense. I'm voting. I'll vote for it, but I think we should have some more detail in the event of these type of agenda items. But that's all. I think it's fair.
Call roll, please.
Councilmember Bax?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion is adopted. Okay, that brings us to the end of the legislative items. Now we're moving on to the speakers for the good of the community. And let me just remind of the good of the community. This is the area where we will speak. Speakers will speak to the council as a body, not to engage in conversation or debate. It's not for personal grievances. If any one of my colleagues calls point of order, you'll be stopped. The time will not be recessed. The time will not be paused. The time will continue to tick. There's a set of rules on the back of the notes for speakers. Pursuant to resolution adopted 2020-10 of January 15th, we expect that you will abide by those rules. As the council had referred to at the beginning of this meeting, these rules will be strictly adhered to. Okay, Elizabeth, you can call the first person, please.
Just getting our clock, that's there. Okay. Give us 30 more seconds. Thank you so much. Okay, so our first speaker is, and excuse me if I've said your name wrong, just correct me. Shirba Rahman.
Good afternoon, respected members of the council. My name is Subor Rahman, and unit is 440 24th Street. My concern was on the short-term rental zone, and to my current knowledge, it is from downtown to 18th Street, 19th Street. And I was wondering if it is possible to increase the zone, as many people here in the community as well, and myself have inputted more of our own currency into fostering these homes so that we can make a living. Many of us here, I can agree with, or more, that we have come to a last resort that if it's not possible to increase the zone, we cannot do rental units, and we must continue on to sell those homes, and we would have to relocate, as these are our only means of earning an income. Thank you.
Our next speaker is last name Mosen.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for giving me a chance to say something. Exactly same thing like the before last person. So my house is 2228 South Avenue, literally is after the zone for the short-term renter. So before I come in, I just like a 30 minutes ago I checked, like around my house, like another 25 houses still online in Airbnb. So when the city says I cannot do, I remove right the way and I follow the rules. But my request, because this is my first time investment property after I came back from the New York City, and I believe a lot of people come in here to see the falls all over the world, and they need some space. If you guys don't give it to the space over here, people maybe move to Buffalo looking house, maybe Cheektowaga or some other else. So I really request, is possible, bigger the zone. We can pay maybe more. We can pay percentage-wise. We can show after the end of the year how much we make, maybe 10%, 20%. City of Niagara Falls, take it, no problem, you know. But we need some opportunity to do something over here. So thank you very much.
The next speaker I have is Dan. Dan?
I think you skipped over me. I'm with Act Now Media. I was number 3 on the list. Sorry, yes. That's all right. I got you. It's okay. How you guys doing today? I'm with a company called Act Now Media. We investigate accountability, consistency, and transparency in government bodies. Me personally, I think the government is a criminal organization in which you guys are selected by the powers that be to carry the status quo in water for the jobs program. You give them raises, you appoint them, you get them to sign contracts, you give them kickbacks if they get you in office. Recently, I was sent an article, and I'll tell you guys what. Niagara Falls, you guys are something else. You guys should take Niagara Falls out of your logo there and make it a handcuffs. Because from the car to the area here, I Googled Niagara Falls politician investigation, and like 30 articles came up from your mayor in 2010 getting arrested to the HUD refunding HUD $1.5 million for misappropriation of funds, for crimes with the housing authority, for crimes with code enforcement, for failed deals with contractors, misappropriation of funds. Mr. Perry, yourself, you were involved in a whistleblower incident where you uncovered your own corruption and found other people in this area massively corrupt. And I just found, man, you guys are like the 7th and 8th wonder of the world with Niagara Falls and massive corruption.
Your notes.
Oh yeah, I'm getting it.
Address council, no individual.
All right, so they were involved in a whistleblowing situation, and it was admirable. You found corruption. Good for you. So I sent an article that talks about not allowing people to speak at these meetings and relying on Robert's rules, and I'm wondering, why would you guys do that? I feel like the faith in public from any faith in any elected official coming out of Niagara Falls is broken. I mean, this is a history of fraud, misappropriation of funds, abuse, theft, criminality. Someone says, I don't know when it became okay in our society to reward bad behavior. I would argue paying your taxes to the city of Niagara Falls rewards bad behavior. Corruption, fraud, your police department has a handful of false arrests and police brutality lawsuits against it. I mean, you guys are wasting taxpayer dollars at an astounding rate with just massive lawsuits and fraud and corruption. So I would argue with you guys and tell you that instead of turning people away and not letting them speak, maybe work on building the public's trust in you guys. And you guys have one hell of a job ahead of you because, quite frankly, again, I Googled Niagara Falls corruption, and there's more articles about that than the falls themselves. You guys... you guys are great at that. Another thing I'd like to point out was it says it's a privilege to speak in front of this board. It's a privilege and not a right to speak in front of you guys. And I think that says the quiet part out loud, that it's not a privilege to serve the people that put you there because the people didn't put you there. A committee picked you guys, their people campaigned for you guys, and they decided that's who's going to win the election. And it's your job to hold water for them. But I'll tell you what, as I sit here in front of you guys, I'm feeling it, man. The privilege of being in front of you has healed my shoulder. I dislocated my shoulder recently. Now that I'm here, it's in front of your presence, graced by the Almighty, I feel healed. How's your eyesight? How's your eyesight? If anyone has this man in glasses back there, maybe you can come pop him on his head and heal him. The blind shall see, being graced by the presence of you, the Almighty Niagara Falls Council. Can we get an amen from the people in the crowd? Amen. Now, really, all jokes aside, you guys won a popularity contest. And you guys have a choice. And Mr. Miles, you are doing a great job holding people accountable, being a leader. Amen. The faith in you guys is at an all-time low because, quite frankly, you guys have pumped out nothing but corruption, fraud, and other crap. You guys have a choice. Start rebuilding the public's trust or don't. I don't care. I win neither way. You guys start doing a better job, we have better government, we have better people, the people are happy, they're happier to pay your tax dollars. Or you don't, and I can propagandize, radicalize, and destabilize people against the government. I don't care. I believe the government is a criminal organization, and the actions of you guys have done nothing but prove it's true. So you guys have a choice. Allow me to win or do a better job. The choice is yours, and that's why I'm here, to give you guys an option. Whatever you choose, someone will win. Good luck. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dan, Erie County, it says.
My name is Dan, Erie County, and I'm here to talk about government transparency. And to be quite frankly honest, I come down here to film this meeting and talk during the public speaking, but my head's spinning watching government transparency. I got a board member of the council begging for some transparency, and to me it looks like none of y'all give a crap, except for Mr. Miles, you know. But my problem is transparency in government is the most American thing there is. And I'm not seeing anything American about Niagara Falls, whether it be the building itself locked down from the public, like you guys own this place. I'm here to remind you all that this building belongs to the public. Those dollars that you're spending belong to the public. All right? You guys are entrusted to do work for the public, and the only one up here, there's only one member up here who's working for the public. The rest of you guys, I mean, I got a member up here, members up here, they don't even look up when people are talking to them in the beginning of this meeting. I mean, you can tell that the board doesn't give a shit less about the public, all right? It is true that you guys don't have to, by law, allow people to speak at these public meetings. But when you take that away, it shows the public that you don't care. When you limit what people can say up here or who can speak, this is a constitutional violation. Law number 1 of this country is the First Amendment. I'm a First Amendment auditor. I've been down to this building and trespassed for taking pictures of the mayor's office. Illegally trespassed, lawsuit worthy. This building locked down from the public, why the public can't freely walk through their building, shows that you guys don't care about the public. This building needs to be reopened to the public. There's signs out here, authorized personnel beyond this point. Authorized personnel is your boss. The public is your boss. You guys seem to have forgotten that. There's only one member on this board that didn't seem to forget that during this meeting, and I appreciate Mr. Miles. But the rest of you, shitbags. Trash. Absolute trash. I'm speaking right now, Chairman. Chairman, I'm speaking right now. I'm speaking right now. Free speech.
No, there is no free speech.
No, there's not in this communist nation of Niagara Falls, is there?
Sir, that is a point of order. We have rules. Just because you want to be ignorant and bait, you know, that's what you're doing. Everybody here knows what you're doing.
It's funny you speak about ignorance.
Yeah.
You forget who you work for as the people. You know, there's nothing more ignorant than the chairman up here. You're complete ignorant.
You can vote. You can vote.
You hear that, folks? He says you can vote him out. That's his opinion. You know, you guys are trash. Mr. Miles should be the chairman up here running this board. Absolutely.
Officers, would you remove this man, please?
Yeah, remove a man for free speech. That shows the public what you believe in.
That's right. We know your type.
You know my type, holding government accountable, and you don't like it because you shine the light on you little cockroaches.
That shows what you're like, sir.
Yeah.
We saw your video.
It shows that I'm here to hold the government accountable. There's no accountability. There is no transparency in government. Mr. Miles got a bag to see where the money's going. You guys are shit.
The people of Niagara Falls know what you are. Exactly.
So I'm going to finish my 1 minute unless these cops here behind me decide to dishonor their oath to the Constitution. And my voice is big enough that it doesn't need them. My voice is big enough to be heard. It's going to be heard worldwide.
Put it on Facebook. Go ahead.
I'm going to list it. I'm going to list it on Facebook, and the people are going to redress their grievances also, First Amendment right.
The people of Niagara Falls know what you are. So
No, the people of Niagara Falls know who you are. Exactly. The people of Niagara Falls know who you are.
That's right, they do.
So shut my microphone off, call some armed thugs who seem to be earning my respect because they are not
They know
violating
who I
my
am.
rights. But I appreciate it.
They know who I am, that's right.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. You guys are a joke. It's unacceptable.
That's right.
The mayor and chair city.
Our next speaker is Vincent Cawley.
Wow. You guys are, wow. You guys are the workers.
So, hello, illustrious council again. Going back to one of the agenda items that I was thinking of, if we've signed that, speaking of transparency, if we've signed that contract for the past 3 years, that's $750,000. A good assignment would be how much of that money we've spent in the past, how many times have we hit that ceiling, and if we haven't hit that ceiling, how come the ceiling wasn't lowered? And just getting that accountability from the past 2 years, how much money have we actually spent of that? So that's one. Number two, let's keep it going. Going to the Robert Rules of Order, I've looked at the Robert Rules, I've looked at the Foundation of Freedom, we got the Constitution, we have the Declaration of Independence, we have the Bill of Rights, we have the open meeting laws, we have the rules here. None of these rules still say that people can be banned from speaking. If we go to Robert's Rules of Order 61.6, which I will continue, a society has the right to determine who may be present at its meetings and to control its halls while meetings are in progress, but all members have the right to attend except in cases where the bylaws provide for the automatic suspension of members, et cetera, et cetera. This is for pertaining to if we were the Elk Society, if we were the fishing club. This isn't for a public meeting, so that doesn't pertain to this. So the Constitution says we have the right to petition our government. So therefore, the rules, and if you want to make a rule to ban them, there's no rules on here that says the speaker, the council can ban anyone from speaking. You can enforce the rules, council, but as far as banning people from speaking, if you want to make that rule would have to follow Robert Rules of Order. You have to make that rule to say, hey, the speaker can ban people.
You can state the rule. You can state what you want to state. Just state what you want to state.
I love you too, Chairman.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
So what are professional services? Can I reclaiming my time? Reclaiming my time?
State what you want to state, but we're not going to debate.
I don't think he's not attacking anyone. I think that's for me.
Wasting my time. Can I get a pause?
If we can bring that back.
I should get 28 seconds.
You do not believe what you can state what you don't want to believe, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Question. I mean, because at the end of the day, I can see if he was attacking someone personally, like we had mentioned earlier in the route, but he's actually expressing something that is considered for him for the good of the community, because it's, trying to help, bring, that level of transparency or whatever it is. And to cut him off, I think that was uncalled for.
We're not debating.
But he's not debating. He's actually just giving us some information, and I think we should sit back and listen to it at least, at bare minimum.
I told him I'm listening to what he said.
But you didn't have to cut him off to do so.
We're not going to debate. Go ahead, Vincent. Go ahead. Because I respect you, but go ahead.
Let's get low. Let's get fast. What are professional services? Professional services are non-physical products or services that individuals or companies provide to customers to help them manage or improve a specific area of their businesses. This is a rhetorical question for Councilman Miles. Do you consider your dogs to be non-physical products? People behind me, do you consider your animals to be non-physical products? Therefore, that's not a professional service that we're doing this pit chick. We're redoing DPW's building. That's not a professional service. That should have gone to a RFP. And she lied on her credentials. Therefore, it's not a professional service. If you want some more examples of what a professional service would be, computer science, IT, security, management. If you want to go legal, marketing, web development and design, software development, user experience and development, user interaction, finance, planning and advising, those will be considered professional services, ladies and gentlemen, non-physical products. We have dogs who the contract says, wait a minute, just in case these are imaginary dogs, I know there's a movie called If. This agreement says the pit chick will provide all the above described facilities and services for up to 17 dogs per month. Those are real dogs, not imaginary dogs, not non-physical dogs, not metaphysical dogs. Those are actual beings, entities. 17 dogs, they were paying $20,000 a month. Therefore, this definitely should have gone to RFP. But since we're going to stay with that, there's another municipality that may also be in Niagara County, starts with an L, it's on the other side of the county. They also put out a request for a proposal. This city, referred to here as a city, is seeking proposals from qualified organizations to provide dog sheltering services within the city limits. And they outline their RFP: background, scope of work, term of contract, evaluation criteria, et cetera, et cetera. They want their applicants to fulfill all this work. How come we're not doing this? Does Lockport have more dogs than Niagara Falls? I submit to you, no, it does not. And we have the records from the SPCA to verify that. So why RFP? Of course it should have been done. Let's continue on. As we go back to this contract, we talked about the compensation before. In the event that the population of seized dogs housed in the shelter shall be on any time exceed 18, the city clerk or her designee shall have the right to conduct spot audits of Pit Chick's business records and shelter during business hours. My submission to the council: have we asked our city clerk to get the records from Pit Chick? We have access to those records at all times. There's a click of a button. It's called the Ginger system. Have we asked for the records of the Pit Chick? Have we? I submit to you, that's one of our homework assignments. That's what we said, you, ladies and gentlemen. I have a lot more, but thanks to discrepancies, I'll be out here. But let's get the DCO involved too. Where's the DCO? And we're gonna move the fireworks to put the dog people in there? Come on, we can do better than this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andre. You're gonna pass? Thank you, sir. And that is the remainder of the speakers. Yes, sir.
Meeting adjourned.
I'm sorry I got here late. I just wanted to make a community announcement since I got people here. Just a community announcement.
You can talk to us.
Yo, what's up, Lawrence? We're having a candidates forum for the school district. No, I'm working on it.